Today, we are traveling to what was once one of the most isolated and paranoid nations on Earth. And we're there to discover the crazy story behind not one, not two, not a dozen, but tens of thousands of abandoned structures. In terms of numbers of structures, this might be our biggest story yet.
Oof, this sounds like a busy one.
It is a busy one. And they all offer a disturbing insight into one of the 20th century's most unhinged dictators.
Okay.
This is Where Did Everyone Go? With me, Dr. Sascha Auerbach.
And me, Tom Ward. A journey into the weird history of abandoned places. What country are we talking here?
Albania, in the Balkans.
Okay. Now, I'll be honest, I know nothing about Albania.
I know it's full of Albanians.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Unless
but also other people.
Something terrible did happen, but we don't know if there's any left. But from the video, you can see mushroom-shaped concrete things.
Big enough for a couple of people to be inside, and some are actually carved into the mountainsides.
Yeah, and others are on beaches looking out to sea.
Some are huge, with multiple rooms, and descend deep underground.
Okay, so what was going on here? When and where did everyone go?
Where did everyone go? Okay, well, our scene starts in the 1970s in Albania when the entire population was ready to mobilize for war at a moment's notice, preparing, if necessary, to defend their nation against a terrifying attack. And these mushroom-looking bunkers were at the core of this planned defense. So here's our man on the ground, Elton, no relation to Elton John, who grew up in this time, to explain a bit more.
There was this constant, genuine fear of the attack. And I do remember personally in the neighborhood here in the city center in Tirana, the trainings that they used to give us, the adults throwing chlorium all around the neighborhood, people closing off the lights in the home, and families being forced into some sort of military action, trying to just hide away from the enemy and finding shelter in the neighborhood's bunker where we were supposed to survive in the case of an eventual bacteriological attack.
Jeez. So who were the Albanians so afraid of?
Well, the Albanian fear of invasion dates back to the end of the Second World War. In 1945, much of Europe lay in ruins. It had been torn apart by 6 years of total war, waged both against the military forces but also against the civilian population. Albania had suffered occupation both by fascist Italy and by Nazi Germany, and they were ready to take their independence back. Enter the key man to all this mushroom madness, Enver Hoxha. Now, Hoxha was a staunch communist and quickly aligned himself with the Soviet Union, which was led by Stalin at the time. There's a lot of debate about whether Stalin really embodies the ideals of communism or there was just a totalitarian dictator. But Hoxha idealized Stalin. In fact, the Albanian communists were the only communist group that openly supported Stalin after his fall from grace in the 1950s. And, depending on how you look at Stalin, you can either see him as the murderous dictator who jailed, purged, and killed millions of his own countrymen, or you can see him as a wise and ruthless military organizer who organized the Soviet Union to successfully defend itself against the German invasion, the largest invasion in human history. He was both of these things. Now, Hoxha was such a fan of Stalin that when Stalin died in 1953 and was succeeded as in his position as the Soviet premier by Nikita Khrushchev, Hoxha wanted nothing to do with the new leader. He actually thought Khrushchev was betraying the true communist ideals and was being too soft. Well, following on Stalin, a man whose name literally translates to steal, it's hard to be as hard as that guy.
Yeah, Joy Division fans were a bit like that when Bernard Sumner replaced Ian Curtis.
Did you just compare Joy Division's transformation to New Order to
Well,
Stalin's transition to Khrushchev?
I mean, it's a popular reference point that gives us an insight, because the Joy Division fans thought that Joy Division was a kind of new wave, post-punky, kind of quite dark and depressing, and then Bernard Sumner had a more pop sensibility, and then they added synth, and they were seen as selling out.
But they didn't, say, intentionally impose a famine on their fans that killed millions of them.
No.
Didn't erase and disappear.
They seem pretty anti
tens
all
of
that.
thousands.
Yeah.
Did they also purge their military of most of its experienced officers?
No, but they did make a loss on every single sale of Blue Monday due to the elaborate construction of the sleeve that they used.
Okay, that is a fair comparison then.
Yeah.
I take it back.
Okay, so he's now made an enemy with the only country that's on his side, from the sounds of it.
Yep. And with that decision, the country becomes extremely isolated.
Right.
Hoxha becomes completely convinced that an invasion was imminent, and he embarks on this nationwide project of bunkerization.
Okay, so that's what all these buildings are.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Not just a strange mad art installation, but bunkers. The story goes that a prototype of this mushroom-shaped bunker was presented to Hoxha, and the chief engineer assured him that it could withstand a full assault from a tank. Hoxha decides to test it with the engineer inside.
Oh, wow.
Yep, put your money where your mouth is.
And?
The engineer emerges unscathed from the attack.
Nice.
And Hoxha orders mass production.
That's
to
one
begin.
hell of a day at the office for the engineer, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's like, please don't ask for a demo. Please don't ask for a demo.
Yeah.
I swear to God it works.
It's a great one.
Get in there.
Exactly. One of my favorite scenes from any movie is the Flash Gordon and all the people from the various moons under his domain are promising their fealty and giving wonderful weapons and stuff. This is Max von Sydow as Ming the Merciless. He's amazing.
I haven't seen it, but please.
So good. It's the Queen soundtrack. You'd love it. It's so throwback. Anyway, so this one guy comes
Thank
up
you.
and he goes, "We, the people of Frisia, we have suffered much since you last blasted our kingdom. Sadly, we have only to offer our loyalty."
Yeah.
And Ming goes, "How great is that loyalty?" And the king goes, "Beyond measure." And Ming goes, "This is marvelous to hear. We value nothing more. Fall on your sword." Careful what you promise.
Yeah.
A mad dictator.
Yeah. You want you give us loyalty? Go on then. But the engineer survived, which is good.
He does.
And
He
then,
does.
And then obviously that means that the bunker program is rolled out in full.
How many of these things, these little mushroom homes, do you think were built?
Mushroom homes.
Mushroom homes.
It's like a Florida
little home away
Florida
from home.
development.
Yes. No windows. No beachfront. Just a mushroom.
I'm going to say, well, how big is Albania? How many people live there?
A few million?
A few million.
Yes,
We
but
know
not
that?
many million.
Okay.
Fewer than 10 million.
There's going to be less than that. Thousands.
Yes.
Thousands? 20,000? 50,000?
More.
100,000?
More.
121,000?
170,000 bunkers.
Oh my God.
I know. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. The project was based on this siege mentality. And the idea was that enemies were everywhere and ready to strike at any time. You want to hear what Hoxha's special personal bunker was like? I bet you do. Yeah.
Of course I do. I bet he had secret capitalist imports because these guys are always secretly corrupt.
They are secretly
Dancing
corrupt.
girls, Pop-Tarts, cable TV.
Pop-Tarts. So this is more of like a mushroom bunker mansion. It went 5 floors underground,
Wow.
160 rooms, and could apparently withstand any type of attack, whether nuclear, chemical, or bacteriological.
Did Hoxha make him test for that as well? Get in there while I just press these buttons.
Anthrax,
Whoops!
bomb,
Everything's
mustard
gone.
gas. Oh, there's a leak in the bunker.
Uh-oh. Sorry. Guess it doesn't work.
Sorry. Fall on your sword. But Albania had some secret help with all this bunker building. Turns out they did have one very important, though rather controversial ally, and we'll find out about that after the break.
So, hang on. Before the break, you were talking about this secret help.
Yes.
Now, is this because I want to know who this person or this country that was helping him, them, was, but is the secrecy relevant? Is it somehow he wants to preserve his image? Is it some, is there a reason why it's secret?
I'm not sure if it might, I think it comes out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Just initially the negotiations are secret. And I think it's more secret in terms of unexpected and initially clandestine, not a giant secret to this day.
To show that he didn't have help. Kind of thing. Right.
No, that tiny country is not going to build 170,000 bunkers without an absolute shed load of help.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And if he's not going to get it from the Soviets, where's he going to get it from? Well, when you think about it, there's only a couple countries large enough to help with this type of project. So, another communist leader from the other side of the world was offering substantial aid to Albania. Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao.
Mao Zedong, leader of the Chinese Communist Party.
The one that killed 65 million people and buried intellectuals alive.
That's the one.
Wow.
But also, best name for a cat ever, Chairman Meow.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, very good.
You see pictures of like T-shirts with Chairman Meow on.
Yeah.
Did not kill 65 million of its own feline countrymen.
And I'm sure the families of the killed find that humorous as well.
And admittedly, cats can be very, very heartless. They might kill 65 million mice if they could.
Yeah, and you could dress them up. You see people who dress up their cats. You could put them in one of those collarless suits.
And a little hat. Little hat with a star on it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Chairman Meow.
So Mao is on board now, helping out.
Chairman Meow.
What's in it for him?
Is on board.
Just the spread of the ideology? Helping out an ally in the
I don't know what
conceptual realm?
use Albania is as an ally. To be honest, who knows? This alliance, as you can imagine, was not well received by Albania's neighbors, Italy, Greece, Yugoslavia, nor was it looked upon favorably by the nuclear powers, the U.S. and the Soviet Union. And now, of course, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy because Hoxha has allied himself with the Chinese, and now he's even more paranoid because everyone around him, including his neighbors and the world's two great superpowers, are all looking at him very unfavorably. So what better excuse do you need to build even more bunkers? The answer is always bunkers, bunkers, and more bunkers.
Yeah.
And more bunkers on those bunkers, and beyond those bunkers, other bunkers underneath. And then inside the bunkers, another tiny bunker. It's like a Starbucks, like inside the bunkers, another tiny bunker.
Yeah.
Like a
Total
Matryoshka
bunker
doll of
domination.
bunkers.
Yeah, Monopoly, bunker.
Monopoly bunker.
Bunker Monopoly.
No, other people were building bunkers. Everybody was building bunkers. It was the Cold War.
I mean, men have a thing about collecting things, though, don't they? So this was just his version.
There is this whole bunker building
I got
craze.
all the bunkers.
He's not alone. This is bunker building craze in the U.S. too. Everyone was building background nuclear shelters.
Millionaires are doing that now, though.
Yeah, like
Because
that's
of
going
the
to say
event. That's what they call it, isn't it? The event.
The event, yes,
This
or the
future,
jackpot. I've heard it
something
called.
happens.
Yeah, that's why the whole Greenland thing. It's like Greenland will be safe. Like the air doesn't circulate to Greenland.
Right.
No, and when I was growing up, we used to have these schools always had an area that was supposed to be a fallout shelter, but they didn't want to scare the kids by saying like, time for the nuclear attack drill. So they'd always be like, it's a hurricane drill. Everyone in the basement in case the hurricane comes. It's like, why is there a radiation symbol on the door? Like, shh, shut up, Sasha. It's a hurricane. Yeah,
But
radioactive hurricane.
All these bunkers everywhere. That's also from the civilians' point of view. That's a constant reminder of threat, isn't it? So they're probably living in a state of paranoia themselves.
Well, what better way to hold on to power as a dictator than making everyone afraid and offering out the one hope for their protection? So this whole bunker program goes into overdrive. Hoxha's absolutely convinced someone's going to attack, and it's been estimated that there was one bunker for every 4 Albanians.
Wow.
I know. That's a lot of bunkers.
That is a huge amount of bunkers. So how did China help all this then? What did they do?
Well, the Chinese construct these enormous factories dedicated to manufacturing bunkers. And we have, and they're built all over Albania. We have some video of one of the factories. So you can see this vast industrial wasteland.
Yeah, it's very dystopian, quite Mad Max, Blade Runner kind of feel.
Yeah. Blade Runner, I think, is a good comparison. This vast industrial space, very post-apocalyptic.
Would you like to see our owl?
Good one. I like that. Constructing. You want to tell? I'll tell you about my mother. Oh, such a great movie. Constructing these bunkers was such a monumental task that almost every major factory in Albania was put to work.
Wow.
Now I can't stop thinking about Blade Runner, though. Do you know the title of the story it was originally based on?
Sheep have dreams, electric dreams. Does sheep dream of electric?
Very close. Do
cars.
androids dream of electric sheep?
Ah, yes.
It's Philip K. Dick, who's
Yes.
an absolutely visionary sci-fi author. But
Yeah.
in the book, it's way creepier because people keep getting replaced by replicants until by the very end, and this is sort of implied in the movie, but not as much. By the very end, you're not even sure if Decker himself, might actually be a replicant. So, like the main character of the book.
Yeah, that showdown at the end of the first film is unbelievable. Rutger Hauer,
Yeah.
the best villain ever.
Yeah.
I love Rutger Hauer.
Well, you got to see the director's cut where they take out the voiceover. Like, Harrison Ford was really mad about the voiceover. He thought it really undercut the vision of the movie.
Yeah, I have seen that one.
Yeah. All right, so back to this bunker building. Giant molds allowed prefabricated bunker parts to be transported all over the country, and then they were kind of fitted together on site, like a snap-on model kit.
Like prefabs.
Prefab bunkers. Everyone's favorite type of prefab bunkers.
This is like an industry around paranoia. I mean, I've been paranoid in my time, but I'm just so glad that I wasn't like in control of a country when I smoked a fat one back in the day. You know what I mean? Because I would have done something
Were you
silly.
also afraid of bacteriological attack at the time?
Well, I was afraid that my friends were going to turn on me and that no one really liked me. All the usual paranoia you get, you know.
You could consider maybe not smoking so fat a one then.
I
don't think that's really the desired effect.
I don't. For that reason. It wasn't fun for me.
Pass it over. Like, no!
No, thanks.
Well, the obvious answer is to just smoke in the bunker.
Yeah.
Then you're already protected against attack.
Yeah. One more drag on that, and I'll want to roll out a nationwide bunker program. So I'll leave it. Thanks.
Yes. And at this point, we have to say that the podcast does not support the use of illegal drugs.
Here at Where Did Everyone Go? We know that when you're young, you're susceptible to influences, to experimentation. But we, both Sascha and I, think it's actually better to have a clear head, a sober mind, and an abstinent temperament.
I couldn't put it any better. I really couldn't put it any better.
So please
well
stay
done.
clean.
Yes.
And don't have sex either.
What you should
It's
instead do is
overrated.
you should spend all your time listening to slightly dirty podcasts.
Smutty podcasts are fine.
Yes, especially international ones. It's
Yes.
very important. It's good for the mind, good for the body, good for the soul.
Hit subscribe.
And tell your friends not to do drugs. So this was like the Maginot Line, which was that string of fortifications that the French constructed on the border with Germany after the First World War. But this was next level. I mean, the bunker system covered the whole country. Here's a quote from the time about just how widespread they were. In places that even goats wouldn't pass, we had to build bunkers.
Oh, goats will famously get everywhere.
It begs the question, were there goat bunkers as well?
Well, it sounds like they don't have particular respect for goats. If even goats don't go there, they're probably not going to worry about bunkering them up.
Actually, I think goats are pretty important in Albania.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a big goat industry there. It's very mountainous.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the point of surviving a bacteriological attack if all your goats are gone? So I think the bunkers had room for the goats as well.
Okay, so maybe there was a huge goat bunker somewhere.
Yeah, or just each bunker had a little, like a goat annex.
An area for the goat.
For the goats.
Right. I don't want to know what happened to those goats.
Yeah.
So they were really worried about this invasion. This was a
yeah.
genuine concern, at least at government level, but that probably would have trickled down to the...
I mean, also you have to, like, why would anyone want to invade Albania? Like, there's really not much there except goats. And Albania was about to get even more isolated because Hoxha didn't like the fact that Nixon was allowed to visit China in 1972, remember his only ally, and made the decision that even the Chinese were not hardcore enough.
Oh, let it go,
Yep.
Hoxha.
It's just the dude is
Quit when you're
self-sabotaging
ahead.
like nobody's business.
He's too purist for his own good, isn't he?
He's obviously crazy. So in 1978, 2 years after Mao Zedong dies, Albania's special relationship with China comes to an end. And now the country becomes truly one of the most isolated in the entire world. The North Korea of Europe, completely cut off from everything and everyone. Propaganda, brainwashing the whole population, religion banned, foreign travel banned, secret police to clamp down on any dissent. And almost a quarter of the national budget goes into the military, much of it spent on, you guessed it, building bunkers. And Albania's whole infrastructure is just fallen to pieces. Here's Elton again to explain what it was like.
Things got worse and worse in the 80s since they had no more allies to fuel the economy. And they kept on building bunkers, though, and investing in weapons. I do remember a lot of the restrictions relating to food and clothing. This was something pretty hard to get. It was our parents suffering most of all. I do remember my parents having to wake up practically 1 a.m. in the morning, having to go and queue in the shop of the neighborhood. It was obvious that there would be no milk for more than 60 people, so you needed to make sure to be among the first 60 in the queuing.
That's so bleak. Just one guy just causing everyone's life to just become less free, less
but
enjoyable.
When you
more
think about it, I
restricted.
mean, this was the cost of a lot of countries that, as part of the Cold War, just devoted massive amounts of their economy to the war
Defense.
industry. Yeah, I mean, the Soviet Union suffered because of it. America suffered because of it. I mean, America was an interesting one because it's this sort of public-private alliance, right? So the money is being funneled from the government into American industries. But that's money that could go to building schools or hospitals or all kinds of peacetime things. And instead, it's just going to build like tanks and bombs and nuclear missiles and this giant military. And I mean, in the end, this is really why the Soviet Union loses the Cold War, is because its economy could not support the massive military budget necessary to keep up with the West. And especially after the Chernobyl disaster, which really hit it hard economically, it was more it just wore them down. Like, it wasn't a war; it was that they were just outspent so consistently. But then, of course, when the Cold War ends, neither of these great superpowers dismantle their giant war machines. This is why we find ourselves in the situation where we are today, is that they both have this enormous stockpile of weapons, and you've seen what the Russians doing with them, and America's like, well, yeah, we got it too.
It's kind of like a parable, the story of the man who was too protected, couldn't allow life to happen. It's like a parable for like letting love into your life again after a heartbreak or something.
Yeah, but
I know you're a man who's had many loves.
Not that many.
And you've had to let your heart thaw after, It's like this is a classic example of don't be too defended, otherwise, basically you stop living. It all just goes kind of crazy.
You can't just bury yourself in a mushroom bunker.
Though it
was a giant mushroom bunker for him. I mean,
Yeah.
160 rooms, that's a pretty big
With
bunker.
a jacuzzi and lots of sexy goats.
And I was going to say, that doesn't even count the goat annex, which I'm sure was quite extensive.
His harem of goats.
His harem of goats.
But
So-
this has changed since then, because I know people who've gone on holiday to Albania. So is it safe to say that things have changed?
Yes, they've changed quite dramatically. After Hoxha's death in 1985, the regime did cling on for a while, but the people were getting wind of the communist collapse across Eastern Europe, or the impending communist collapse across Eastern Europe. It doesn't really happen until the end of the 80s. So first you had hunger strikes by students. Then people rose up and took to the streets. They had enough. And Albania's Marxist-Leninist government finally collapses in 1991. It's one of the last of the old regime communist governments to collapse. But it wasn't an immediate fix. Capitalism didn't just, and the modernization of its industry didn't just arrive and save everything. The country was a broken mess economically. It
Yeah, I bet
spent
it was.
much of the past 15 years building nothing but these bloody bunkers.
Yeah, it makes sense that it's going to take a while.
Yeah, so I mean, you can beat your swords into plowshares, but what the hell do you do with 170,000 mushroom bunkers? Nothing. I mean, they're not useful for anything else.
Sure, and it's such a visual reminder of a previous time as well. It kind of traps Albania in a period in time. So visually, they can't move on as well. They kind of got to be stuck in this guy's paranoid dystopia.
Yeah. In 2004, some 16 tons of mustard gas containers were found in a bunker only 40 kilometers from the nation's capital. I want to say that again. 16 tons of mustard gas containers.
Right.
The U.S. had to pay the Albanian government $20 million to safely dispose of the chemical weapon because they just didn't want it falling into someone else's hands. You know.
On
Recently,
eBay.
Pardon me?
On eBay.
On eBay, yes.
How much would you get for
new
that?
Umbrella, ice cube trays. Oh, look, 16 tons of mustard gas containers. You think they'll take an offer? Oh, free shipping.
Buy it now. Collection only.
Also, in addition to drugs, kids, stay off of chemical weapons. They are not the answer. Talk to a friend, talk to your teacher, talk to your parents about chemical weapons.
Talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor. Recently, there was this huge process put into action for demolishing and getting rid of the bunkers. And about 40 to 50% disappeared between 2006 and 2014.
Wow.
You know, leaving a mere 85,000 remaining.
I'm hoping, I mean, did they find any stuff in Hosier's private one? They must have found
what they did in his
collection of baseball cards and Playboys.
Bunkers. A lot of dead goats, I guess. But some of these bunkers, they're still waiting for that war to come. But some of these bunkers have been repurposed and transformed into restaurants and bars and even museums. In the words of Elton, quote, "They will hold capitalist visitors and there will be no better punishment for the dictatorship."
Yeah, take that, Hosier.
Yeah.
I mean, capitalism gets a hard rap, especially with trendy liberals, but I think it seems better than what he was proposing with the 1 a.m. milk queues. Is that living?
It's an interesting question. Like this one is a real extreme, but all these different countries on various spectrums. And Scandinavian countries are moderate socialists, and they're doing very well. I mean, there are issues with going like full-on uncontrolled capitalism too. When you look at the favelas, in Rio, and the extreme poverty of Central American countries, like they're capitalist countries, and those people are not doing well. So it's not neither capitalism nor communism are easy fixes to everything. It's it's what you do with your resources, and if you spend all your resources on building these bloody bunkers, that's not a good plan. We could say it was backed up by an ideology, but it was really just backed up by an oppressive totalitarian regime. I don't think it would have mattered. It would have made a huge difference if they were an oppressive right-wing regime, especially a left-wing regime. I don't know.
It's who it's being funneled through is the key, rather than the ideology itself.
Yeah.
It's how it's being interpreted, and then
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, capitalist countries are also more than capable of oppressing their populations. I mean, look at South Africa under apartheid, for example. So it's not always just the ideology. Anyway, Albanians are now optimistic about the future, and they even have dreams of joining the EU, offering their massive bunker collection as a down payment.
Now that we've left.
Yes. And apparently, bunker ashtrays are a popular gift to bring home from Albania.
What's a bunker ashtray?
Well, I don't know if it's an ashtray that was originally in the bunker. I'm assuming it's an ashtray shaped like a bunker.
Or a piece of the bunker that's been
made into an ashtray? But then wouldn't it make sense
Can we get clearance on this?
To shape that piece so it looks like a bunker?
Right, an upside down bunker. Yeah, because if it was the top, it would just slide off the ash.
I mean, I don't smoke, so I don't
smoke either.
Right,
do people still smoke?
Some do.
Surely they should make.
Mostly they vape.
They should make a vape mushroom.
A bunker vapor.
Is it marble?
It's marble.
So the bunkers were made out of marble as well.
Or maybe it might be alabaster.
There was really no expense spent on these bunkers.
Yeah, I'm glad all those bunker making skills are being put to good use. It's like we used to have 170,000 bunkers. Now we have 170,000 bunker-shaped ashtrays.
Yeah, and we can't sell them because no one smokes anymore. So the Albania's got new problems.
They're always just one step behind the curve, aren't they? No, but actually, full disclosure, I am planning a vacation to Albania, and now I know what to do while I'm there, which is maybe Airbnb. I can Airbnb bunker.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of room.
Yeah, I want the big one though. I want the luxury bunker.
You want the sort of penthouse suite, but there's no windows, but it's
has to be able to sleep 160 comfortably.
Yeah. That would be a trip.
How ironic would it be if I was in the luxury bunker and the long-feared invasion actually started?
Yeah.
I'd be fine.
Yeah, well, you would, but yeah, it'd be Hozier would be having the last laugh, I guess.
Yeah. Ghost of him inhabiting these weird bunkers.
I mean, do you think there's going to be a day where there is a World War III?
I'm a historian. I don't do predictions.
No. It's just, for me, again, it's a story of one man having too much control and what happens, and that can be fine and is plenty of the time, but when that guy has a particularly dystopian temperament.
Yeah, and this is why you need leaders that are reasonable, that see the what they call the peace dividend,
and other people around them who will question them.
No, and why I think, whether you accept it or not, the fact that we live in this interconnected world, where our economies are connected to one another, where the welfare of one nation, can't operate without connections to other nations, and where people, see the folks from other nations as human beings, not as just competitors or enemies. I mean, that's what Hozier saw too. He looked around and all he saw was enemies. And the thing is, when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And when all you've got is 170,000 bunkers, everyone looks like they're a threat. Yeah, you're just left with bunkers and your goats.
Choose love, kids.
Not drugs. Or chemical weapons.
All right. So we've got some feedback from you. Thank you for your messages and comments. Pretty much all of you are very nice. Sascha, what have you got?
Yeah, I've got one from Dracula's Castle. This is from a listener named Chandra. He says, you guys haven't watched the movie Dracula Untold. The acting isn't great, but there's a fair amount of impaling. Okay. I'm surprised how much of the movie stayed close to the actual history. Well, thank you, Chandra. And yeah, I'll go check that one out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I've got one from Lynn the Witch. She's appearing to respond to another comment. She's saying, Mikhail, before commenting something dumb, maybe read the description of this podcast where it's made clear that this is a history comedy podcast. Don't like it? Go elsewhere. These podcasts are some of my favourites because they are light-hearted in a lot of ways. And she's basically responding to someone who's complaining, and then the person who was complaining
no, don't dignify the complaint.
Well, she said, do history, not comedy. Well, we can suggest lots of history which is not funny on other podcasts. If you like unfunny history, why not go and watch the now very popular, what's it called?
I don't know where you go.
The one, the 30-yard under the bar, what's it called? The one earlier on?
We're not going to slander.
What's it called?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, Mikhail, if you don't like history being tarnished by comedy, go and have a look at the charts of history podcasts, and there's many on there that are not funny or good.
And I have to say, Mikhail, I might be laughing on the outside, but I'm crying on the inside. So don't think. We just, you gotta laugh sometimes so you don't weep.
Mikhail,
and I'm not trying to be funny now.
Hey, Mikhail, sometimes comedy is a defense because you are damaged and you have pain and trauma that you've tried to process, and comedy's the best you come up with. Okay.
Sorry. Inappropriate laughter.
What else you got?
Caribbean Pirate City. Brooklyn Hawkstra, Brooklyn, says, I'm thinking the ladies who, quote, fought with their shirts open had already fought with their shirts closed and realized how easy it is for them to be ripped open. May as well leave them open. If your op is a grappler, that shirt might as well be a piece of floss. Is that English? I guess if your opponent is trying to grab you, that shirt is a piece. And this is a funny thing, and this is a historical fact. Like the clothing back in the day was much more rugged. It was much thicker and handmade.
Well made.
So I don't think anybody's tearing anything off of anybody.
Yeah,
do you remember what they're referencing there?
Yes, the idea that they fought like kind of bare-breasted.
Pirates.
The female pirates.
Yeah. Mary Bond, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who were they? The famous female pirate duo.
No, but I think the bottom line is Brooklyn Hawkstra is paying attention to the details, which we have to appreciate.
Absolutely.
So thank you, and shout out to Brooklyn. Even as a Knicks fan, I'm going to say shout out to Brooklyn because it's New York still, technically. And thanks for listening.
No sleep till Brooklyn, of course.
Oh, nice.
And Bonnie and Mary Reid.
Oh, this relates to Bonnie and Mary Read,
Exactly.
the female swashbuckling pirates,
Exactly.
who were rumored to fight topless or to have ripped open their shirts.
Yes.
And I think we suggested that maybe that story was written by a man,
Yes.
or that they were using it as a distraction technique while fighting, because men are so dumb that they'll be like, huh, and then lose the fight.
Men are so dumb. It is true. Oh, I got one for you, and this is from Uncle Woody. I'm not making this up.
God.
Uncle
Would
Woody.
you leave your child with him?
Now,
You want to go and stay at Uncle Woody's? No.
I'm gonna have two comments about this when we're done, and we can each have a turn at it. And his comment is, "How is this dude a comedian? My drunk uncle is funnier than this guy." Now, here's the thing, though: is my first response is your drunk uncle available to do podcasts, and can they pay him as little as they pay us? If so, man, bring him on. I mean, I'm happy to be replaced by a drunk uncle.
Yeah, we're pro bono. We're on. We don't get paid until this reaches the top 10.
We're coerced labor. We're not allowed to leave until the podcast gets into the top 10, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks for driving the algorithm, but don't think that somehow we're winning here.
And if your drunk uncle is so funny, why isn't he a comedian? Why haven't we heard of?
Or is he?
Oh, and this is the thing. His name is Uncle Woody, so his drunk. Is he talking about himself? He's like, I'm so funny.
Yeah.
But only when I'm drunk.
Yeah, and so what?
Yeah.
We've all got a funny uncle, and plenty of people are drunk and funny. Put it onto a notepad, turn it into a job.
Yeah.
Buy an apartment. Put your money where your mouth is. We can all be funny at a bloody barbecue. Huh?
But luckily, someone else responded to it with a devastating thumbs down.
Good.
Thus undercutting any legitimacy of Uncle Woody's comment.
That's the modern warfare, isn't it?
It is. It really.
So they've dropped bombs on
used to be like
Ramsgate.
a gauntlet, thrown gauntlet. But here's
No, I disagree.
I disagree.
No, I think the comedian is very funny indeed.
Yes, yeah, and the enemy, the critic of our critic, is our praiser.
Yeah, quite right. And I don't understand what you said, but I agree. I feel like you're on my side. And I feel like I can't really comment.
And final comeback, my aunt is even funnier than his uncle, and she's on heroin. So
yeah, my dead dad.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, my dead father is more articulate than you. Also, let me meet your uncle. I can't comment. I can't say yes or no to this.
I'm just curious what his uncle is. If he's Uncle Woody, does that make his Uncle Woody? Or is he Uncle Woody?
And Uncle Woody Sr.?
And also, an uncle with a Woody is just disgusting to begin with. So I don't like any of this.
Unless you're in love with Uncle Woody. Unless you're Auntie Woody.
Yeah. Auntie Woody. Are you anti-Woody? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just want to meet Uncle Woody's uncle.
Yeah, I want Uncle Woody's uncle on the show.
Yeah, let's get him on.
Send him over.
If you're watching.
And we'll decide whether or not he's funny. We'll make the judgments here.
One episode each, Uncle Woody's uncle.
Ready and go.
Bring it on.
You try to make comedy out of World War II, pal. Good luck to you. Do you see what Lewis writes, for God's sakes?
We're doing our best out here.
He writes, and they give it to us in crayon, for God's sakes.
It's a famine here. Famine.
There's nothing on these pages. We're making it all up.
It's worse than life under Mao. You understand what we're working with here?
Life under Mao. All right, and that ends the comment section of our show. Thank you for listening. We're out.
Producer Lewis here. Thanks for listening to this episode of Where Did Everyone Go? New episodes every Wednesday and Sunday. Follow, comment, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out.